Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right, welcome, Fade to Black. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, but you already knew that. And that's where I say, let's do this, man. Wow, what a week here on Fade to Black. Just an absolutely perfect, amazing week, even though it's a short week. No show tomorrow night. I know, but having electrical work done here in the studio, so the studio will be down for about 24 hours. So deal with that. I wish I could say I'm just taking the day off, but I'm not. I still have to work. But this week on Fade to Black, Monday, Dave Beatty was with us and his new film, The Consciousness Connection. Last night, Grant Cameron was here, UFOs and government secrecy. Tonight, it's Ross Coulthart. He's back with us, and I've called the show Our UFO UAP World, so Ross and I can go in any direction that we want, and we will. I do have 4 major events coming up. Starting in 2 weeks, I will be out in the Midwest in Wisconsin hosting the Contact Modalities XPO. This is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2025 in Delavan, Wisconsin, Delavan Lake at the resort. Tickets and info are below. Then I come back out here to hang out with Ross for Contact in the Desert. And that's May 29th through June 2nd in Palm Springs, California. I'm doing a few things there, but one of the things that I do every year at Contact in the Desert is I host the big party, and I will be doing that this year as well, just pulling people up on stage and acting goofy. That is my job at Contact in the Desert. I'll see everybody there, and then I head south to Peru with Brian Forrester again. I just got back. Heading back with Brian Forrester for the Inca Celebration of the Sun. This is June 17th through the 27th. This tour is sold out. We have a second tour in November. Okay, so you can sign up at hiddenincatours.com, change your life, and go to Peru. Paradigm shift. How paradigm shifting is it? Ross just let me know. Peru is on his agenda. It's that kind of thing. So come down to Peru with us. It's just amazing. Then I come back to the States for the Psychic Olympics, the Psy Games. That's right. I'm a game show host for the Psychic Olympics. This is August 1st through the 3rd, 2025 in Charlottesville, Virginia. All right. The links for everything are below. Now, before I bring Ross in, because I'm going to talk to Ross about this, some of the biggest breaking news that this world has been waiting for happened about an hour and a half ago. All right. Are you ready? Scientists have found the strongest evidence of life on an alien planet. All right. This is breaking news. This is straight off of Reuters. In this landmark discovery, scientists using the James Webb Space Telescope have obtained what they call the strongest signs yet of life beyond our solar system, detected in an alien planet's atmosphere the chemical fingerprints of gases that on Earth are produced only by biological processes. The 2 gases, which are too long for me to try to pronounce right now, are produced by life in oceans only here on Earth. They suspect that the planet, which is K2-18b, it's 120 light years away from Earth, is an ocean planet. There is so much of these 2 elements in the atmosphere that they have called it teeming with life. This is absolutely extraordinary. Now, do we have the official announcement about life beyond our planet? This is as close as we have ever gotten. And it's an absolutely incredible moment for humankind. All right, tonight, Ross Coulthart is here. And I'm going to keep this introduction very, very brief because Ross is part of our community. He has spent his career in Australia as a television host, a news presenter, and an investigative journalist. He has taken all of those extraordinary award-winning talents and brought it out to the world to investigate the secrecy and the truth behind UFOs, ETs, alien life, and UAPs, what governments know and don't know, and what is going on out there in the universe. With that, his website is below, Ross Coulthart. It's also on our website and throughout social media. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Ross Coulthart. Ross.
G'day, Jimmy. How are you, mate?
It's been a minute, hasn't it? It's been a minute.
It's funny. I remember speaking to you for the first time during COVID about 4 years ago.
That's right. And you know what's funny that you bring that up? Because I actually thought about that. At that time, when things were starting to get stirred up, we don't need to, not COVID, in the UFO world, you came along and people resonated with you in the UFO community almost immediately. And that doesn't happen. And you know that now because you're part of the community. And we vet our own. You got vetted. It's a nice family, isn't it? You've been well.
They're a great bunch of people. I mean, you're all weird tinfoil hat crazies, of course, but you know, they're a nice bunch of people. And I must confess, I'm totally down the rabbit hole. A lot has transpired in the last 4 years since you and I first spoke.
Yeah, and to that end, and I've got so many questions. Oh, I just want to say, in the interest of transparency to everybody, Ross, he's a professional. The show must go on. He's fighting. He's at the tail end of a nasty bug. He said to me today that we're going to do this, man. But it's Ross is a professional. I'm just going to say that. And so we're going to do this as long as we can tonight until Ross has to tap out. So you don't mind me saying that. Is that too personal? Is that revealing medical secrets?
Not at all. No, I don't mind people knowing. I've been laid low for the last few days, literally on my deathbed with the most awful virus and just knocked me for 6. So I'm very grateful for your sympathy and understanding.
Yeah, totally. Ross said to me, okay, I'm going to do a little reveal. Ross said to me earlier, he goes, man, this one scared me. Yeah, scared you, huh? It's going around. But anyway, back to this subject. I don't want to throw you a softball, but this kind of is. But I want to start off with something maybe that you have never been asked. All right, which is difficult. But how did you manage to go from the true crime, Australian news, things that, you know, you did over there, award-winning stuff, but get yourself worked into the inside of Capitol Hill in Washington on a subject of UFOs? That takes a lot of effort. How did you pull that off?
Well, I've already done a lot of international stories myself, Jimmy. I'm a member of a group called ICIJ, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, which is based out of Washington, D.C. And we've done a lot of collaborative investigations on, say, the Panama Papers, you know, the tax frauds, people who were using tax shelters to hide their dollars, big tobacco, big pharma. And a lot of those stories are transnational. And so I've built up relationships with journalist friends all around the world. Journalism stories don't stop at a border. They go over the border. And a lot of the things that happen in Australia happen all over the world. And just like UFOs, it's the same with true crime. We have the same kind of problems, the same kind of mistakes that get made by corrupt politicians. So many of the stories are the same. And look, I'll be honest, I find it frustrating. One of the most common refrains you'll hear from me is absolute incredulity that much of the mainstream media has failed to pick up and run with this ball, this incredible UAP mystery, since I first started getting my teeth into it around about probably 5 to 7 years ago. To me, it is, as a journo, you get a nose for a story, and you know when something's a big issue. I've known for a while, for a large part of my career, that there was a story to be told about UAPs. I happily admit I got into it thinking I was going to be discrediting it and debunking it. I thought that I would discover a US black world program, that there was some secret aerospace program that was using American-made technology, and that the UFOs were just a cover to disguise for what was primarily and wholly a US program. What I realized as I started talking to people, and this is the other thing, it wasn't hard. This is the thing that shocks me, is that I think a lot of mainstream media assume that this is a tough nut to crack. It's not. There are so many good people. As a journalist, the one thing you look for are sources that you can develop, people who you can build relationships with to build up an understanding. And it's often very difficult, breaking into, for example, to something like the police force to tell a true crime story is often quite problematic.
Well, isn't that good training then? Isn't that good?
Yeah, it is. It's a training thing. But in journalism, with the UAP field, this story wants to be told. It really does. Its time has come. And I feel and sense the impatience of so many people out there who are just incredulous that the mainstream media, to a large degree, with the exception of News Nation, who I'm working with a lot these days as a correspondent, most of the mainstream media doesn't cover this issue. They're frightened of it. They treat it with stigma, taboo, ridicule. And I think, frankly, if they stuck their toe in the water and went near it, they would jump in and find it highly fertile pasture. I mean, what do you say when somebody like Rep. Eric Burleson, who's one of the members of the UAP caucus, he just came out a few hours ago and basically said he believes categorically that there is a retrieval program. And he's got Dave Grush, as you know, on his staff. And I know Dave Grush has been chewing his ear and filling him with the secrets that he's got in his head, knowing that he can basically get something done about it. And at what stage does the rest of the mainstream media go, well, Coulthart's breaking these stories. He's I think a respectable journalist doing his job. He's not making this stuff up. Where's this stuff coming from? And yet we're still stuck in this ridiculous 1960s paradigm of treating the whole subject matter with stigma and taboo. I've lost count of the number of times, Jimmy, that whenever I do a story or I see a story on Australian TV about UAPs, they invariably put the mocking tones of the X-Files underneath it just to try and signal to the audience, don't take this one seriously. This is one of those silly UFO stories. And it's a form of self-regulation, self-idiocy by the media, frankly. This is a subject that demands to be taken seriously. The Congress has said it's real. The Pentagon has said it's real, and so many good people out there who are the witnesses and experiences, first-hand people with knowledge, that they are the people that we're all relying on to basically base this on, and the evidence is incontrovertible now.
Do you think that, like, this press release that just hit the wire 90 minutes ago from Reuters about alien life, being discovered, that's a big deal. Do you think the media is waiting for something like this to happen first? Also, governments to have science announce alien life out there, so they have a little cushion to rely on?
Well, I actually think if the media did their job properly, and they should be, they would have realized that long ago the Pentagon and the government of the United States, through the Director of National Intelligence, have actually admitted fundamentally that the phenomenon of UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, is a genuine, authentic mystery. Period. End of story. From that moment on, I think it was 2023 2023 or 4, maybe 2024, when the DNI made that admission. It should have become a mainstream issue. I've been frankly amazed that you haven't had the New York Times tasking a reporter onto this subject matter full time.
Yeah,
Instead,
full-time.
you've had this. Instead, you've had a ridiculous situation where they put their national security reporters, who are the same reporters that have the relationship with the intelligence services to get the stories that they're leaked, and they're expected to neutrally cover this story. Frankly, they're not going to get the leaks if they upset the Pentagon by digging into the UAP issue. This is a story that by necessity is going to upset the Pentagon and the intelligence community, because it's a story that at the moment the government doesn't want told. For some reason, it's continuing to try and suppress it. It's a silly strategy, because in the end, they're going to have to admit that they've been lying to the public. And I think that admission's going to come a lot sooner rather than later.
I think it's the method of operation with media. When I was in school, you'll laugh about this. I was in school for broadcast and journalism, and one of the instructors, adjunct professor for a couple of weeks, was a correspondent for CNN and here in Hollywood. And so he's teaching us, and what he was teaching us was donuts and how to put the to structure a reel, and how you take an assignment from a news editor, right? And then go out and do your man on the street thing. All right. So that we're in the middle of that. And I said, this is what I go, what if you had a story about a UFO? The whole class like turns around and looks at me, and he looks at me and he goes, what do you mean? I said, okay, you're getting an assignment from a news editor, a news director. But what if you had the story of a lifetime, contact, video, photographs, blah, blah, blah. And you brought, I would never take a UFO story to my news director. And I said, why? And he goes, it's a career killer. That's that was the teacher teaching the student. That was his answer. And I knew right then what I wanted to do.
Look, I've been in a situation myself where a commentator on a media commentary program, a prestigious media commentary program on network television in Australia, he made the observation that Ross Coulthart was either mentally ill or the cleverest journalist in the world for covering the UAP subject. And this came after my interview with David Grush. So when somebody of the stature and obvious known, acknowledged background of David Grush goes public and speaks under oath to the Congress, I don't expect a TV program in Australia to make the comment that I'm mentally ill for trying to cover it. And that's the kind of thing that happens, is that there is this often pejorative slurring that goes on of
It happened to
journalists.
Grush. It happened to Grush.
Well, yeah,
Right.
I covered that.
Yeah.
I covered that. I mean,
Yeah, you
the poor guy's mental health history got dragged
Right.
out for all the public to see. And the man served with great service and distinction, and he suffered PTSD. Whose business was that for a journalist? And it was a journalist, by the way, that was leaked that information and used it maliciously. Why was it his business to choose to leak that information, to use it in such a nasty way? That's the kind of thing that I think is the thing that shows how the media has been manipulated over the years and misused to try and control the UAP narrative. But I really do. I mean, I'm optimistic, Jimmy. I think that era is coming to an end.
How do you think the public is starting to take and react to this issue? One, and this is a two-parter, because we have this news coming out from Reuters, alien life on a planet. What would be an easier transition? Life out there on another planet discovered by science, or ETs are coming and going on planet Earth? Which one is the world ready for?
I'm sure the world is ready for both, but I'm sure the scientific establishment and the governments of the world would prefer that any acknowledgement of non-human life come from out there somewhere. The last thing that they want to have to acknowledge, those who are aware of this dirty secret, is the fact that we've been aware of a non-human intelligence engaging with this planet for at least 80 years, and look, probably a hell of a lot longer than that. There are governments of the world that are briefed in and read into this reality, but for some reason, the reasons we do not officially know, the public's not being told. I'm beyond any shadow of a doubt now. I used to be, when I first spoke to you, in fact, I was much more cautious in what I said because I still hadn't fully satisfied myself about the extent of the cover-up and whether or not there were certain officials in government that did or didn't know. I now have a very clear idea of how that cover-up is engineered, where it's engineered from, and some idea also of why it's happening. And the simple fact is, not everybody in the United States government, or indeed in the Australian government, pretty much no one is read in. It's a very tightly controlled secret, and it's tightly controlled because the people who are in charge of that secret, they know that if the public found out about it, there would be all hell to pay, because there are moral, legal implications about the propriety of the way they've conducted themselves that really do reflect very badly on the functioning of the US as an effective democracy. The public have been lied to for much of the last 60 to 80 years. At the very beginning of this exposure in the early 1940s, when we first started hearing and seeing about Foo Fighters in World War II, and then right through to the weird sightings in that incredible period in 1947, there was almost a preparedness by the US Air Force and the US military to be quite open. And it was a really interesting period where you had people from the military briefing the media and being prepared to admit in memoranda that there was something to this phenomenon. And then you can almost see when the door came down. Obviously, the formal moment when it came down was the Robertson panel, where I think in the early 1950s, it was formally decided, and people miss this point, that it was formally decided by the Central Intelligence Agency through the Robertson panel that there should be a disinformation PSY operation mounted on the public to convince them not to take the UFO issue seriously. And the official explanation for that is utterly nonsensical. They acknowledge now that there are memos that did announce the fact of this psychological operation, and they say that the reason they did that was because of the Cold War, because they didn't want people misreporting UFOs, because they were more focused on Soviet and other potential foreign adversary incursions into the United States. But think about that. A UFO, whatever it is an unidentified object coming into American airspace. By definition, we should know what those objects are. And if you believe the nonsense that is coming out of the White House in recent months, claiming that all of these objects that have been seen over the east coast of the United States in places like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and upstate New York, if you believe the BS that these objects are all FAA authorized research drones or other such spurious excuses being given by the government, then you are incredibly naive. We are still being fed a psychological operation line, and I, for the life of me, do not know why they think they can sustain it.
When they made that announcement, okay, I'm going to use some bad words if you don't mind. Okay, sometimes when they made that statement, all of the drones, right, are FAA authorized, and we know what they are. And I'm thinking, what kind of bullshit is that? You can't categorically say a blanket statement as fact that all, right? It's crazy. And then the story just went away, didn't it?
It sure did. And in fact, I don't think people understand enough of what's been recorded in the media on the record. To its great credit, CBS 60 Minutes put its toe back in the water on UFOs a few weeks ago. And they did a great story where they interviewed two generals, General Mike Kelly and General Glenn Van Herk, both former US Air Force generals, very recently retired. And they also interviewed Senator Roger Wicker, who's the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Now, all of them made it very clear that contrary to what the White House has been putting out, we are still mystified by whatever these objects are. And they didn't stop. They're still happening. I'm talking to people who are still seeing these objects in parts of Florida. But yes, the intensification of those objects, the frequency of those objects appearing has diminished, but there's still a mystery. And if you think about it, these objects were hovering with impunity over some of our most sensitive military facilities. Eglin Air Force Base, Langley Air Force Base, the Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey.
Vandenberg out here in California.
Absolutely, Vandenberg Air Base. All of these places have probably got nuclear weapons for good reasons. The US doesn't say where their weapons are, but I'm pretty sure that at least one or two of those locations have got nuclear weapons in them. We know for a fact, courtesy of Robert Hastings' fantastic book, UFOs and Nukes, that the phenomenon, whatever it is, takes a very close interest in nuclear facilities and nuclear weapons. So whatever this is, it's showing standard ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. That's not to say that it's plotting an attack or anything like that. It's merely that something is scoping our most sensitive weaponry.
Observing. Yeah. Observing. Yeah.
Why on earth is the mainstream media not as upset about that, or Congress for that matter, as upset about that as they were about the Chinese balloon that flew across the United States in February of 2023? That's the thing that I find incongruent, is that we had that public response back in 2023, and now we've had thousands of these objects, car-sized, SUV-sized objects, moving far too slowly to be conventional aircraft, far too large to be conventional drones. In some cases, according to witnesses, appearing to change shape, transmutate on video and on the human eyeball. They seem to change their shape. Whatever these objects are, they appear to be showing tendencies of stealth. Some of these are the 5 observables. It does beg the question whether what we saw in that in that winter for you guys of New Jersey was in fact a series of anomalous objects that were for some reason showing themselves over the east coast of the northern USA. And why was there such an anxious effort by the government to play it down? I just think something's being put in the...
Let me jump in. I just interrupted you, Ross. I'm going to apologize, but I'm not sorry, but I'm going to apologize. I live next to Skunk Works. Okay, it's a mile away. I live in the Mojave Desert. You can see Skunk Works from my house. When you come out for Contact in the Desert, come out here. I'll show you some things. It's incredible. Anyway, about 6 months ago, after the show, it was a meteor shower. So I went up on my upper deck on the second floor to look at the meteor showers. And over Skunk Works, which you can see, again, a mile across it's right there. I can see everything, the runway and stuff. But there's this object in the sky. All right. And I'm looking for meteors, which I did see, but this object catches my eye. I'll keep this very brief. What I did notice that there were no navigation lights. It was keeping the same altitude, and it's right over Skunk Works, which is a no-fly zone, right? Okay. So anyway, it had strobing white lights, brrr, like fast. Brrr. Okay. Anyway, it comes over my house and stops. I think they did it for me. That's another. Anyway, it's 3 white lights, triangle thing. I didn't see the structure, but it's brrr, strobing, not making a sound. When it was over my head, I was able to look at it probably 50 feet, maybe across, dead silent, nothing, and went back and zipped around. Okay. I watched it for 20 minutes. That same thing flying over any other American city, bedlam. People would freak. They would lose their minds. It was white, no navigation lights, and I don't know. Maybe the strobing was propulsion. I don't know. Anti-gravitation. I don't know. I don't know what I was looking at, but it was Tuesday night in Palmdale. You know what I mean? That stuff is always going on. So how much of that do you think is being seen and utilized around the world and misidentified? Right?
Oh, I agree. I mean, to me, it's utterly absurd for us to try and suggest, as the government has been doing, that all of these objects are prosaically explainable. There just isn't. There isn't the evidence, and that's what essentially the two generals, Mike Kelly and Glenn Van Herk, admitted to CBS 60 Minutes a few weeks ago, and Senator Roger Wicker from the Senate Armed Services Committee admitted that the intelligence community and military people that he's in touch with assure him that they are mystified by whatever these drone objects are. And so what's happening at the moment, Jimmy, is that there's the beginning of an introduction into the narrative, very deft psychological operations, certain key influencers on social media. I know who they are. They're people who are essentially intelligence community moles. They pose under certain Twitter names. They're the people who come out as active debunkers, and their role is essentially to support a media narrative that pushes a psychological operation. And in this case, what they're now trying to do is push the whole notion that the whole events of November, December, January were just a public hysteria, and the public weren't seeing what they thought they were seeing. All of these people who were saying they were seeing anomalous objects, they were just looking at light aircraft that were landing at the local airstrip. And indeed, some commentators have started to support that narrative. It's really quite sad to see the way that people are so easily led by clever, deft media manipulation. And I think we have to call it out when we see it. And that's what's been happening here. When you've got two generals and a senator in charge of the Senate Armed Services Committee saying these objects are not explained, I know who to believe.
After your reveal, an excellent interview with David Grush and what happened later, you had mentioned a 300, I'm paraphrasing if I've got the numbers wrong, but you had mentioned a 300-foot flying saucer, a 300-foot craft that was in our possession. Where did you get that information? How did you find out about that?
I don't remember saying a 300-foot craft, but I've certainly...
It was big. It was whatever the number was.
Yeah, I'm certainly aware that the United States has recovered or has possession of, may not necessarily have recovered it, but maintains it in situ, has possession of extremely large craft. I can't tell you my sources, but basically I speak widely to a lot of people in the defense and intelligence community who think that you've got a right to know about it. The reason I suspect you might be referring to the object that I've repeatedly referred to as a giant UFO, which was found in an archaeological location, essentially in the location where it had been for some considerable period of time. I can't reveal how I know about that object, but I've got multiple corroboration of not only its existence, but where it is and who controls it. And
is it in the United States? Is it in the United States?
I'm not playing games. I can't tell you where it is, but basically there's a reason why the location can't be revealed. And one of the things I'm legally as well as ethically obliged to do as a journalist is respect things that I know would compromise not only national security, but the safety of people who are doing their best, putting their lives on the line to defend your country and to protect home and hearth. And I am not about to jeopardize the safety of those people by compromising them. And
I'm not going to give up that. I'm not going to give up that easily.
Well, I'm not going to. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you anymore. You can try as hard as you like, but I'm not going to tell you anymore. And
so
it's funny
is it in Canada? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hey, Ross. But here's the thing, and I have said the same thing, and I respect that so much. My proximity to Edwards Air Force Base, NASA, and Skunk Works, which are literally, walking distance from here. The stuff that I see every day, I can't come on the air and talk about that. All of my neighbors work there, right? And
Sure.
and these are people that not only do they have families, but they've dedicated their lives to this research and this testing and everything else. And to have some, fat dude go on the air revealing what he saw that day is giving away stuff, and that's just not cool. No,
I mean, we
I don't
have
want that
we have a
reputation.
we have a lot of people who do the right thing, working in national security and defense for good reason in America. I mean, the world's an incredibly dangerous place right now. We need a solid, firm defense, and
We do.
America has been the leader of the free world for the last 80 years since the end of World War II. And my country, Australia, has a strong defence alliance with America. And I know I've got many good friends who work in the ADF and the Australian Defence Force. And, they're really proud of the Five Eyes Alliance, where we have a very close intelligence sharing relationship, including, by the way, on UAPs, despite what my government says. So, yeah, I mean, there are really, one of the things I think a lot of the audience out there perhaps doesn't understand is there's a kind of a devil-may-care anarchy in the UAP community that says publish and be damned. And I'm not one of those people. And frankly, some people think that I have a responsibility to just publish everything I know, name names, out people. And frankly, not only is that illegal, it would also compromise, I think, very sensitive national security secrets that I think are actually important and worth preserving. And I think the pressure will be applied in good time on government to do the right thing and tell the public the truth. And I actually suspect that's going to come sooner rather than later.
Let's go back to this giant UFO for a second, because of the crash retrievals that have occurred, allegedly occurred. Let's just go with that. And we are familiar with so many, but I, being this pragmatic black and white thinker that I am, often think, how did they transport these? How did they get it? Do they do it at night? They mentioned flatbeds, but how does it go underneath an overpass? How do you, and then when you talk about something as large as the craft that you're referring to, how do they move that? Do they cut it apart? I don't know.
You're assuming that I've said that they've moved it. The one I'm thinking of, they've never moved it. They literally built it.
Really? Oh,
yeah, they literally built a building over it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Oh, so
yeah, it's so big, to move it would have been obvious. So they built a building over it.
So it's at Gobekli Tepe. I knew it. I knew it.
You blew my cover, mate. You blew my cover. Yeah.
I knew it. Because when you look at something like the testimony of David Grush, and then you look at the Wilson Davis document and some of the other testimony about this, where all fingers are pointing towards Lockheed Skunk Works or other private corporations that would have this stuff, because it separates them out of government oversight. And that makes a lot of sense. Why hasn't, or do you think it's possible for Congress to bring in a CEO of said company that Grush is referring to testify?
I think you may be seeing that sooner rather than later, Jimmy.
Right.
Not just Lockheed Martin, by the way, Northrop Grumman,
of course,
Battelle, Raytheon, Boeing. All of these private aerospace companies have been involved for a long time in the legacy UAP technology retrieval program and the reverse engineering program. It's been very, very heavily compartmentalized, but there have been very senior executives, many of them dragooned from within the defense establishment and given cushy, high-paid jobs inside private aerospace. And their role essentially has been to act as gatekeepers for the program. And many of them have come from counterintelligence roles inside defense and gone into, say, security roles in the private aerospace companies. And they may not necessarily be, say, the president of the organization. They might be a slightly lower ranking executive. Those are the kinds of people. It's very clever the way the legacy program conducts itself. It's had 80 years to do this, and it's very, very well constructed. I take my hat off to them. It's been the cleverest cover-up of all time. They've been able to hoodwink the vast majority of the American mainstream media, even now.
Well, including elected officials.
Yeah, and well, I think part of the problem with elected officials, Jimmy, is they want to be misled. I mean, part of the problem is corruption. I mean, let's be brutally honest about it. Any politician who's willing to change their vote because of how a defence contractor funds them is, by definition, corrupt. They're not acting in the best interests of their constituents. And there are politicians in the Congress who have acted corruptly and allowed their vote to be influenced by the fact that some of their biggest campaign donors are some of these private aerospace companies. And I think eventually they're going to be called out on that, because you've now got David Grush in Eric Burleson's office. You've got Anna Paulina Luna on the Transparency Oversight Task Force of the Oversight Committee. And you've got other people in the Senate who are also rattling the cage, determined to get to the truth. I think people need to understand there's a lot more happening in Congress than is being acknowledged publicly. There's been an enormous lobbying operation behind the scenes. And I think you're going to see some action from the Congress fairly soon.
I think myself, especially, I was surprised to see Congress as surprised as they were. That's the thing, because they cutting the checks, right? That's their gig, right? Cutting checks. And to find out that they don't know what they are cutting checks for, I think that was a big shock. They knew it goes on, and they know that it does, but not about UFOs and aliens and backwards technology and crash retrievals and this legacy program that is now being presented to them. It was amazing to me to see them caught by surprise. And I don't think they liked it, appreciated it, and then, according to Rear Admiral Wilson, completely shut down when they start asking questions.
Well, they're still shutting down. I mean, I agree with you that that there is a small but very vocal minority of politicians in the Congress who are determined to get to the truth on UAPs. But I would say by far the largest majority of politicians in the Congress, they just want it all to go away. It's a distraction for them. They're more interested in the economy. They're more interested in the political situation internationally, the declining international situation. What they don't understand is that the UAP issue is absolutely central to their understanding of America's place in the world. There was a really interesting article that came out today, published by the White House on behalf of the White House Chief Science Advisor, Martin Katsios. And a lot of people in the UFO community jumped on it because they assumed that when he said in his speech that the US has the capacity to manipulate, or the technology to manipulate time and space, they immediately assumed that this was perhaps the beginning of an admission by the White House Science and Technology Advisor that indeed the US does have highly advanced weapons. But in fact, what he was doing was using a metaphor, I suspect. I don't think he was referring to the hidden UAP weapons. I don't think they'll ever be that blatant in revealing what they know, if he does know. I think what he was essentially acknowledging is that there was such a huge leap in progress in the 40s, 50s, 60s that was just incredible, right up to the sort of mid-1970s. And for the past 50 years since that period of high achievement, there's really been nothing. We're still flying rockets from the 1940s. You know, the rockets we fly are essentially Nazi-designed space rockets. All credit to Elon Musk for making them better and faster and more reusable than ever before. But frankly, nothing much has changed in the last 80 to 90 years. The aviation technology, well, the jet engine was developed way back in the 1930s. And frankly, there hasn't been a successor to the jet engine. Yes, we've got scramjet hypersonics, but really that's a play with existing technology. The reality is that UAP technology is an entirely new paradigm leap. It's a step forward. And until Congress and the American public get it into their heads that what we're talking about here is not some cliquey little group of people who are just obsessed with aliens, but what this represents is an industrial revolution for the United States and the world. Until that realization comes, I don't think people will actually fully comprehend the magnitude of what will happen if and when the public realize that they've been hoodwinked. The moment that I believe the true, real, known technologies of zero-point energy or anti-gravity, the moment those technologies are revealed publicly for the first time, and that it's admitted that the United States has made significant advances in their development, and the moment it's known that they've been suppressed for the benefit of a small number of people in government and an incredibly small number of companies in private aerospace and private industry. Can you imagine the degree of public outrage? I can only think that that's the primary explanation for why this is being kept secret. That frankly, those in control of the secrets, they've covered it up so well to their absolute incredulity for so long. The last thing they want to have to do is admit that they've been lying so well to the Congress and to the public. And the lie is so successful, it's better to go with the lie than to tell the public the truth. But the terrible thing...
Dogma becomes truth eventually.
Absolutely. But imagine if those technologies were revealed, because then it wouldn't be the marginal issue that it is at the moment, treated with such taboo and stigma and ridicule by the mainstream media. The fact that there are, I understand, technologies that would allow us to revolutionize energy overnight, that overnight climate change would no longer be a viable concern, that we would have a solution to the use of fossil fuels, unlimited amounts of free energy forever. End of story.
Food, our children's schools having free heat. It's a big deal.
Sure.
It's a big deal. Yesterday, I thought that the announcement today out of the White House was the timing was strange, because yesterday Russia announced they are working on an anti-gravity system. And that was a pretty interesting thing to come out of Russia. And then today, the time and space. And it just seems that there's a rush to proof of concept, right? Nobody wants to be second place here.
I agree. Yeah. No, it is. And I think that's the other issue, which is what David Grush has talked about, that essentially we're at an interesting point in history where the Russians and the Chinese, certainly I think the Chinese, are far more advanced than they care to admit. And that's what's driving a lot of the paranoia in the people that I'm talking to in the legacy program. That's why they think that you, the public, have a right to know about this, because the moment that it's put under congressional oversight, the moment that the public know about it and start screaming about it in the halls of Congress and demanding that the political representatives do something about it, that's the moment when those legacy scientists who are frustrated that they're sitting on compartmentalized information, bits of technology that they can't explain because they can't share it with other scientists, they know they can crack this. But they can only do that material science by going to a scientist in Sweden or Russia. And if the world collaborates, we can make this breakthrough. But instead, we're locked in this tribal warfare, a cold war between Russia, China, and the US for dominance, for hegemony of this new technology. And that's largely what's driving the secrecy. The White House is the institution that's suppressing this story. I'm absolutely sure that there is a Presidential Executive Action Directive, a PED, inside the National Security Council that goes right back to the 1950s, that makes absolutely sacrosanct that this must not go to Congress and it must stay within the purview, the control of the executive arm of government. There's been a conspiracy now to illegally, criminally keep this from the American public for at least 60 years. And it really is time, I think, for the public, the media, to actually rattle the cage and start asking their political representatives to do their job and get to the bottom of this mystery. And that's now what's happening. It's going to come out.
I've read your book now so many times, and I'm not going to be a fanboy and go, man, it's good. But the book freaks me out. You know why it freaks me out? I never want you on my ass. You are going to get to the end of the road, or, that's your journey. And so that being said, your style, and your drive, is Congress asking the right questions? And
No.
if you could, what is it? How would you frame a congressional hearing?
Well, I think they should grow a pair. They should get a spine.
That's what I'm saying. I never want you on my tail, man.
I mean, I think the problem with Congress is it's far too easily beholden to the national security establishment. I mean, Eisenhower warned about this at the end of his administration, that the United States is in danger of being dominated by a hegemoniacal military-industrial complex. And it sounded like a wacky conspiracy theory at the time, but it really has come to pass. The power of the national security state in America is incredible. I mean, they've dragged us into two, at least, stupid wars in the last 20 years, Iraq and Afghanistan, both of which I've covered, which were never a sensible idea. The illogicality of getting involved in a war in Iraq in the pursuit of who was responsible for 9/11 has never been fully explained to the American public. And I really commend to people, if you haven't watched it already, Jimmy, have a look at Kurt Weldon, former Representative Kurt Weldon's interview with Tucker Carlson this week. It's an absolute perler. He really goes to town on 9/11. And if we can't get fundamental questions answered in the Congress about what the hell happened in 9/11 and why there was a conspiracy to lead the world into a stupid war in the Middle East that didn't solve the problems of international Islamist international terrorism, if we can't solve that question, how can we expect to solve the question of the biggest secret in human history being concealed within compartmentalized security facilities inside the United States? That's the big issue, that you've got such an incredible control by the national security state on the Congress. Every politician is beholden to at least one limb of the defense and intelligence establishment. They can kill a politician overnight, and that's what they did to Kurt Weldon, according to what he told Tucker Carlson just the other day. And you just think, if they can do that to one politician, they can do that to an entire political party. And that's the problem, is that for much of the last 60 to 70 years, the balance of power in the Congress has to a large degree been dictated by the wants and wherefores of the national security state, that has consistently overstated its importance and overstated the importance of giving it as much money as it needs. At the same time, it's been bleeding the American taxpayer of billions, likely trillions of dollars, to fund a black UAP retrieval and reverse engineering program, which still hasn't been fully revealed to the American public. There is a sordid history of misappropriation, fraud, and squandering of public money by the national security state. If it's got nothing to fear, it should allow itself to be open to scrutiny. Instead, what's happened? It's failed every single audit for God knows how many years. They owe, there's missing trillions of dollars unaccounted for inside the defense budget. When are the American public going to wake up and wonder why their roads are falling apart? When somebody like myself comes to America, beautiful country that I've been coming to for the last 35, 40 years, I continue to be amazed at the crumbling infrastructure, at how your roads, your buildings, government buildings, basic services are actually degrading, and yet at the same time...
We got complacent.
No, but at the same time, the institution that continues to get funded like a pig in a sty is the national security state.
I'm telling you, Ross, I'm an American. We got complacent. We lived the good life for too many decades, and just, blinders. I mean, seriously. And the next thing you know, you wake up one day and buildings are falling down, railroads are falling apart, bridges are falling apart, dams are crumbling. How many times do we have to have bridge collapses here in the United States where we go, you know what? I think we need to take a look at this. But we just got too comfortable, man. We got too comfortable.
Or the money was being diverted somewhere else. And I think
we didn't care. You see, that's what I'm saying. We just didn't. No, nobody really.
No. I think what it is. I think it's a sense of acquired powerlessness. People feel powerless. They feel utterly weak in the face of the state. And I'm really shocked. It happens in my country as well. How young people feel there's really no point in voting. What's the point in voting? There's absolutely, there's no way that they can influence the political outcome. And I get that same sense of a political malaise in America. And what's needed is the vigor and enthusiasm of a population that got upset and excited when there was these revelations of the CIA's crimes that led to the Church Commission and that revealed the full extent, or not the full extent, but some of the extent of the CIA's criminal activities in the 60s and the 70s when it became a rogue agency. What have they done since in the last 50, 60 years? The interesting thing is there hasn't been a reckoning for over half a century. It's time. And the best way to do that is through the UAP mirror.
I love that. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. You're going to be out here, man. You're
I
coming
am.
out. You're
looking
coming
forward
out
to
for Contact in the Desert. Very fun event. What are you going to be speaking about?
Probably what we've just talked about. I mean, I'm very interested in psionics, which is the allegation. Well, it's more than an allegation in my book. The reality that the United States never stopped psychic research, despite, again, the disinformation operation that successfully stomped the story a few decades back. Basically, the public was told that the American government and military weren't interested in psychical research. That was nonsense. It's kept on going. There's been an active remote viewing program ongoing inside the Pentagon right up to the present day. I've talked to people who've been part of it as very recently as a year ago. It's happening. And more importantly, there is psionic research being used by the US to neuromeditatively engage with a non-human intelligence. It's a very, very exciting area of research. And there is an unfolding scandal that I'm getting to the bottom of right now that'll be coming to your screens very soon.
Can I get you to say yes to the Conscious Life Expo next year, 2026?
I'm doing it already. In fact, I've received a message from them this morning.
I know. I'm the host of that event.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And I've done it for 12 years. But, I got the word this morning, from our dear friend, Serena. She's on the show all the time. And so big shout out to Serena. You'll love that event, and we would love to have you, and we'll roll out the red carpet. So much fun. It's amazing. This is the thing. Contact in the Desert, science and UFOs, framed right there. It's excellent for that. Contact in the Desert, it's UFOs, science, consciousness, spirituality, but it all falls under that one family umbrella. And you'll dig it, man. You'll dig it. So we would love to have you. Okay. Now you're going to go. Oh, one last thing. So that's a yes. Did I get you to confirm? Is that a verbal? Is that a verbal?
It's a yes. It's
a yes. Oh, fantastic. You're going to be going to Peru. We were talking about this earlier. And are you prepared for the spiritual side of old cultures like that? Because it could be it could be overwhelming, but that's the exciting part of it, is the unexpected, right?
I'm very much so. No, I'm fascinated. As you know, I went to Egypt last year, and I went with a wonderful group of people, all of whom were very tuned into the spiritual side of things. There were people on the team who are themselves psychic and who claim the ability to read ancient ruins and see what transpired before. And I'm looking forward to doing the same in Peru. There are some very interesting people traveling with us with extraordinary abilities. And I'm fascinated. I've long been fascinated with the interlocking, extraordinarily accurately carved rocks that connect so perfectly.
Yeah. You see it on video, okay? And it's amazing. You see that, right? Yeah. That ain't shit, Ross. No, when you put your eyeballs on that, woo, man. And not only I have shot so much. I'm putting a film together now. I have shot so hours and hours, if not days, of notches and cracks in rocks. It's the most fascinating thing because you can just do it forever. So it's not just one thing where you come up and you go, okay, this is it. No, it goes on forever, multiple levels. It's insane.
I'm interested in anything that challenges our accepted paradigms of history, because the moment any expert says something is settled and accepted, they're invariably wrong.
When it comes to, and then I'll let you go. When I love it when you say skeptics and debunkers. When I hear somebody like, I'll just say it, I don't give a shit, Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Or some other physicist, astrophysicist, go, you know what? No, there's no life out there. It's just us. I'm thinking to myself, you don't know that as fact.
Exactly.
How can you say that as fact? Have you been there? Right? Okay. To flip it the other way around, that there must be life infinite is easier to say as fact than there is no life. So it just bothers me how they want to, I think it's their influence with their followers and the people that support them. I get that, that they don't want to come out against the grain, but they state it as fact and people believe it. And that's what frustrates me. It should be, science should operate with an opposite set of eyes. Let's go and check it out.
Absolutely. And I think one of the problems with materialist science is that it's become, I think, almost religiously convicted to the scientific method. And I think that what it's done is it's said it can't be, therefore it isn't, rather than considering the possibility that it can be and then looking for the evidence that it is. And that's the big difference, is that there are wonderful scientists like Avi Loeb, Michio Kaku, some of the scientists I talk to inside the Legacy program who assure me that this is real, who would laugh in the face of establishment science that makes pompous declarations. Those people will soon be left beside the road of history. You know, their day will come very, very soon where, frankly, their irrelevance and their pomposity will be revealed.
You know what they're going to do. You know what they're going to say when the reveal happens. Of course there's life out there. There has to be, like, you know, they're going to flip. And here's, that's it. We're running late, but they run by numbers. They run by math. They run by algorithms. They're black and white. I understand that. Well, the vastness of the universe and the amount of planets that are out there is a number that we don't have a way to wrap our head around it. We just don't. It's such a huge number that in of itself would suggest an infinite amount of life and life forms and worlds out there, but they don't want to go there. It's weird. They operate. They want to have it both ways, and it can't be that way.
It's the most taboo subject ever, Jimmy, and it's our job to break that taboo.
Thank you so much, Ross. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you in a couple of months here stateside, and I look forward to breaking bread with you. Finally, I'll see you later.
Sir. All the best.
Thank you, Ross. Ross Coulthart, everybody, live from Australia. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We're going to break for a commercial, and then I'm going to keep things going here. I'll come back to an AMA with all of you. Post your questions in the chat. Put them up in all caps. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Today we're headed to Bolivia, Tiwanaku, Peru, and of course, Bumapunku. Brian, exciting. Thank you so much for everything, my friend.
Always an honor. Right behind us is the sacred river of the Inca that goes past Machu Picchu. So we're going to be driving up to its source at 15,000 feet above sea level and then down to Lake Titicaca.
So today we hit 15,000 feet.
Yes.
Crazy. And you can do it with us. All you have to do is go to hiddenincatours.com. Simple. We've got 2 tours coming up next year, one in June for the summer solstice, right? And then another one right here in November. So hiddenincatours.com. Come and hang out with Brian and I and his amazing team.
Right on.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Just getting back into the chair. That was rushed in here. All right, thank you, Ross. That was absolutely amazing, and great conversation. He's getting over, a bad, virus, and he didn't cough or hack during the show. We were a little bit nervous about that. I think he was holding back. So just thank you, Ross. He's a professional. The show must go on. And there you go. Thank you so much. And again, Ross will be out here at Contact in the Desert, and tickets and info are below. Come and hang out with us. It's going to be amazing here in Southern California in Palm Springs. And then Ross is going to join us also for the Conscious Life Expo, February 2026, also right here in Southern California. And man, he's going down to Peru with Brian Forrester, and a special trip down there. And wow, yeah, it's just such a game changer to go through and see all of that stuff. And if you ever get a chance, head out of the country and go and check out some of these sites around the world. It's and like I said to Ross, are you prepared for the spirituality side of it? Because that stuff will sneak up on you when you least expect it. It's like right there. Um, uh, let's see. Oh, all right. So switching over, we're going to do an AMA for the next 45 minutes or so. So post your questions in all caps. I've highlighted a bunch, and I will get to those in a second. This one just came in. Thanks, Jimmy. This is from Perth, from Australia. Are you ever, if you are ever over here, let me buy you enough pints to tell me where the building size UFO is hidden. That's the big question, isn't it? I'll circle back to that. And thank you for the Dosh. Very cool. And that's from Stevie, or is it? Yeah, Stevie Aggie, 1992. Thank you for that. Let's get to the questions. Very active chat tonight. Put your questions in all caps for me, please. All right. And I'm going to shift here so I can actually read what is going on. First question up. I'm just going to do this in order. I'm not reading these in advance. Outcast Jeff asks, do you have a nice stereo to play music? Of course. I've got a couple. I've got a nice one in here. Subwoofers, speakers, all of that. And I've got a really nice system in the family room, tower speakers and all of that. So, yeah. So I'm assuming you're going to send me some music, or you can ask me what I listen to. You know what I do? You guys ever see Bosch, the TV show Bosch? So great. Such a great, and Bosch Legacy is really good too as well. Anyway, Bosch lives in the Hollywood Hills. He's a detective for LAPD Hollywood Division. But they were going to do a TV show. It's part of this series, part of the storyline. And he took the money for the TV show and bought this house. A detective can't live in a house like that in the Hollywood Hills, but he took this money, bought this beautiful glass. But when he gets home, his thing that he does, or late at night, is he listens to jazz on a turntable with this really nice stereo system. And he's so cool the way that he does it, man. He plays that cool jazz from the 50s and 60s. And anyway, he drops the needle, and the lights of LA are out in front of him. And I just want to be Bosch. So, especially on the weekends, when I'm home, I try to be Bosch. Yeah. It's just funny. It's what I play on the side. You would think I'm rocking the Pantera and the Van Halen, which I do when I have company over. But when I'm by myself, that nice stereo in the living room plays cool jazz because I want to be Bosch. All right. Next up, let's see. Nemo's Odyssey. Where is that ancient UFO under a building? All right. It's covered. Now, what Ross was saying, and I remember him commenting about this in the past, it's an archaeological site, and it's covered. So, and that's when I made the joke, Göbekli Tepe. Like what they did with Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is covered. Now, what that does, it has three functions. Number one, it's blocking the heat from the sun and the rain. Okay? That's the first thing. Because when you're out there open to the elements at these sites, and you do this in Peru and Egypt when you're around as a tourist, there's one thing that you notice, and you notice this very quickly. There's no shade, like anywhere. You're just all, and some of these sites, especially in Peru, when you're at 12,000 feet half of the time, the sun is like 3 feet from your forehead, and you're just open to the elements. So that's the first thing that the covering is going to do, right? Okay. Second thing, it's going to block inquisitive eyes, aircraft, satellites, reconnaissance photography. It's going to block out what is underneath it. And that's an obvious thing, isn't it? It's an obvious thing. The public, and everything else, you would want it as covered as you can do. So Google Earth and all of that, if it's covered, there's nothing to see here. So those are the functions for it. I wonder. Okay, so this is all speculation because Ross obviously isn't saying anything, and that's fine. Where do you think it is? Archaeological site. I would assume a few things. Under the control of the United States, the site itself. So that would put it either in the United States or in a country that would allow us to have control of said site. Right? Could it be Australia? Could it be in the Middle East? Could it be in Egypt, Iraq? Right? These places that we have a certain amount of control over. Saudi Arabia, possibly. Antarctica, maybe. Right? Don't know. I feel Canada, right? Yeah. I don't know. Okay. I have the feeling that there's going to be more questions about this. This is Jimmy Sikowski. Cool name. Why is the dog whistle technology classified? Protecting IP. Yeah. Just like everything else when it comes to this kind of stuff. Only time will tell. You have to let time play out. You do. You have to let time play out. Is it real? Does it work? And what will we know or say about this a year from now? Think about that. So right now, it's a little bit too fresh. It's too fresh. If it's real, look, ideas are classified. Ideas. All you have to do is give a clever engineering team an idea, then let them run with it. Just give them the idea and then let them go and create it and make it real. Okay? It's that simple. The iPhone, right? The idea, Dick Tracy, Star Trek, right? These ideas are presented there, and then somebody is clever enough to make it real. That's why ideas are protected IP. You don't want the ideas, the clever ideas, to fall into the wrong hands or to somebody else. Okay? I know that it's not complicated. It's actually a very simple, fundamental way to look at things. Ideas are IP. Ideas are just as important as the real thing. Okay. Yeah, where do you think it's same question here. If I if I were, man, I don't know. I would like to say, you know, because I live here, that it's in the southwest of the United States somewhere. All right. The world is a big place. And you look at Canada, Australia, Alaska, Russia, China, these are big places. So, so would the United States have control of something in Russia or China? Absolutely not. But Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Antarctica, United States, yeah. That's a big chunk of the planet. Australia is ginormous. So could it be there? I don't know. I would just like to think that the United States is in control of it. Great for all. What are the chances of full disclosure, no bullshit, in our lifetime? %100% in my lifetime. All right, I'm 61. Yeah, I got the feeling that the dam is about to burst. I just feel it. I've been doing this for too long. And you look at this press release from Reuters today, dimethyl disulfide, DMDS, right? And what's the other gas? That's one, DMS or DMDS on planet K218b, 120 light years from Earth. Just the idea that we have the technology with the James Webb to peer into the atmospheres of these exoplanets and get chemical compositions out. That's crazy. This is a pretty bold statement. The headline states, scientists find strongest evidence of life on an alien planet. Wow. That's crazy. And that is like Ross and I were just talking about. I think I've always been of the opinion that governments of the world and the United States government is hoping for and wanting science to do this first. It rips the Band-Aid off. Yeah. Let science announce alien life. All right. Then the government can run with it from there. The government can't do it first. That's just my opinion. I would love for the government to come out tomorrow. But for all of this to tip over science or some crazy mass sighting over a major city here on Earth, Paris, London, Moscow, LA, right? New York. Allow that to happen, because then the government doesn't necessarily have to say we've known this whole time. If they're here, all right, okay, let's talk about it. But they don't have to admit. They can spin it any way they want to moving forward from that. All right, let's see. What are your top 3 likely spots? Yeah. All right. Everybody wants to know. It's underneath a covering. Not sure if building is the right word, but I think it's covered. I'm going to go United States, Australia, and Canada. But he said archaeological site. Man, that just reeks of Egypt, doesn't it? Or Iraq. Could be Jordan. Could be Jordan. It's not Iran. I don't think it's Iran. So, yeah, Australia, United States, Canada. All right, let's see. Overlander. If you could strap Neil deGrasse Tyson to a chair and hold his eyes open with toothpicks, what's the one UFO video you'd play on repeat so he finally gets it? Mm. 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 Man, that's an amazing question. That's a good question. That's a good question. I wish I had video of the beer can. I wish I had video of the Zorro Z because I would definitely have those on replay. Publicly released videos. You know what I like? You know what catches my attention? The stuff of the moon. Showing stuff around the moon and taking that's by amateur astronomers, shooting with telescopes. That stuff is pretty compelling. That really is. That really is. I don't know if we have the definitive UFO video like the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot footage. I don't know if that exists. The Tic Tac, nah. The Go Fast, nah, not good enough. Not good enough. It doesn't show anything. Yeah, the story behind it, but the video itself, nah. Neil would just have fun with that. So I don't know if we have the video to show him. I love UFOs. Sean Carroll has done several podcasts on consciousness recently. Would you have him on? I've reached out to him. I haven't listened to him in a couple of months. He's always poo-pooed consciousness. I mean, I tease Sean Carroll all the time on the show because of his position on consciousness. His knowledge on time, in physics, it's really, really good. It's very foundational. And he has a really good way of teaching when he keeps the math out of it. The math, when he shows that, you have to be a physics student and understand the algorithms and why he's doing what he's doing. He does whole things with split screens and stuff. But his storytelling is really good. But he's always poo-pooed consciousness. And I've always thought that he had the potential for an open mind. And he has said very directly over the years, he doesn't have an open mind. No. He doesn't worry about consciousness. He doesn't think about it. He can't measure it. He doesn't care. He won't waste his time. Now, is he coming around? I think, well, of course that he is. How do you know? All right, everybody listen to me for a second. How do you know when a physicist is getting ready to retire? Okay. How do you know? It's a joke, actually. How do you know? How do you know when a physicist is getting ready to retire? He starts talking about consciousness and time travel. That's right. It's a fact. They all think about it, but they can't talk about it when they're on that 10-year track. They can't talk about it when they're funding research. They can't do that. They're getting ready to retire, right? They've been wondering and thinking about this their whole careers, but they can't talk about it. But they will when the retirement party and that date is booked. Suddenly, they're the most philosophical, spiritual. Yeah. So maybe Sean is thinking about that. Maybe he doesn't give a crap anymore. All right. And maybe he's changed his tune since he left Caltech. All right. Flubber Lane, what do you think of the new find of the underneath technology of the pyramids? I'm asked this question all day. Everybody that calls me, hey Jimmy, how you doing? Pretty good. Hey man, what do you think about the Great Pyramid? What do you think about copper? What do you think about Giza? What do you think about this? What do you think about this radar scan? All right. What do you think it is? I think it's interesting. That's what I think it is. Is it definitive proof of something? Yeah. It's proof that there is difference in the structure of something. Could it be columns down to a chamber? Yes, certainly could. Could it be different densities of rock and water erosion over millions of years? Yeah, could be. Could be a lot of different things. You're just seeing, and I'm not some kind of scientist or geologist, but to me, you're seeing the difference of density. Okay, so what is causing that difference in density? Jumping to conclusions is fun. I've seen all the animations. I've seen the people have built models of it now, and I've seen it. It's fun. It's not necessarily what it is. The thought of some civilization, advanced civilization, doing a construction that deep into the earth that long ago is crazy and fun. And we've talked about these ideas for a very long time. Could there have been an advanced civilization before us? Right? Okay. Is this proof of that? I don't know. We need real scanning. I don't even know the technology to scan that deep into the earth. Aren't oil companies doing that? Diamond companies, gold mining operations? Do they have that technology? Right? That's I don't know enough about it to say that we have the ability to scan 900 meters down like that. But what do I know? I would love for it to be true. No, I would love for it to be something that is fantastical that we've wondered about. I would love for that to be the case. Right now, we just don't know. We just don't know. I don't have enough information. All right. Let's see what this is. It seems there is this thing that all other animals understand, but humans don't. What is this thing they know, but we don't, in your opinion? You need to narrow that down. Animals know a lot that we don't, but we know a lot that animals don't. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Animals can see your aura. Animals can tell if you're a dick. They can. Pets, cats, dogs, that's easy. Animals out in the wild, why do they come up to certain people and avoid everybody else? They know. They know that instinct, your aura, your vibe, your vibration. Yeah. 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 I mean, I used to have a friend, and it was incredible because I couldn't make this happen. Maybe I have the dick aura. I don't know. I had a friend that was a golfer, and this guy could get squirrels and chipmunks to run up to him. I mean, a golf course we've never played before, and he could do it. I was just so amazed with that. We'd have food or whatever on the golf cart. That guy, and I could do the same piece of food, and nobody would come up to me. I was just out in the desert visiting a friend a couple of months ago. Now, I think these were partly trained because of him. But anyway, these desert chipmunks, about this big. And there's a family of them out across the way. And they would come up to him. They wouldn't come up to me. I mean, right up to him, jump in his hand. Yeah. Yeah. We were feeding them. And so I had to throw the food. They wouldn't come up to me, but I don't know. I don't know how they can read your aura. Yeah. Were Russian soldiers really turned to stone by NHI? Wasn't that in the Bible? And if that's the case, Kelly, it's a great question. So what about pillars of salt, right? Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah. Does that make Yeah. Really good question. I hope not. Elias Romero says, in Nazca, Peru, he was 11 years old playing football with my friends, and we saw a UFO very close to us. I can believe it. You know what's amazing about Nazca? It's a very small town, all right, in the high desert. And when you fly over the lines in Nazca, which I've done a couple of times, I can't believe I can say that. It's pretty incredible. But when you're flying over Nazca, and I don't know how many square miles it is, 50, 100 square miles of these lines, and it's insane. It's so big. But so you're flying around on the plane, and there are some houses, nice, that are on the Nazca lines. I'm talking about you could have company over, grilling steaks, grilling burgers, hot dogs on the grill with your friends over, and you can go, hey, you want to see my lines? And you can walk to the property line and go, check that out. I mean, the houses are right up on the edge of the Nazca Plains. And so you're flying around and you're looking like, man, who lives there? I would love to own that house because my backyard would be this. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So, and I have seen from the airplane when you first take off, there's a school there with a soccer field. I wonder if that's where Elias is talking about. And so you see that, and with everything else that's going on there, yeah, I can only imagine the desert night sky or days and the UFO activity that happens in and around Nazca. Yeah, full on jelly right there. Okay, all right. Another question about the UFO with the building over it. Let's see. Jimmy, are you an alien? I appreciate it, but it kind of makes me angry when people go, are we all aliens? No. Well, yeah, we're stardust, but man, my idea of alien or ET is something that visits this planet that wasn't born here. All right, so don't say we're all this. No, that's not what I'm about. Not at all. Not at all. Are you an alien? No, I'm not. I was born in Waukegan, Illinois. As far as I know, I'm not an alien. But we're all hybrids. Well, yeah. No. I'm staying with what I am. Born in Chicago. Would you like to be on Skinwalker Ranch to help with some of the experiments? I've been invited. I would love to go when my schedule presents itself. I will be up at Skinwalker. Yeah. I'm being straight up. I would love to go up there. I've been at different locations where I know. You've heard me talk about it for years. I know that some of this stuff is location specific. The Skinwalker is one of those joints. Yeah, I would love to go and experience that. I will assist. I will be anybody's lab assistant out there. I will carry the camera gear. Yeah. I'll carry the night vision. I'll carry I'll be the catering. I'll be anybody's lab assistant. That would be a lot of fun. So yeah, the invitation is open. I'll see what I can pull off. Jimmy, can you lower the volume of? No, I can't. There you go. There's the answer to that. Let's see. Android Paranormal. Let's see. With all the JFK stuff in the news, do you, Dolan, or Grant Cameron know the first place the JFK unknowns letter first appeared in public? Yeah, I know, right? Right? I would send some documents this week, declassified, that I have never read before. I don't have the time to go through all of these documents and, be a John Greenwald and catalog it, make it searchable. Anyway, wow. I am of the opinion, I'm 61. I was a month old when JFK was assassinated, November 1963. I was born in October of 1963. I was a month old. So if I'm 61, pretty much anybody associated with JFK back then, if they would have been in their 30s, is dead today, like Momo, dead, right? I don't think there's anything holding back the release of all the documents. Nobody's gonna be alive that would care. Is there some deep-seated crazy conspiracy that our own government did it, or an agency of our government? Well, at this point, the public should know that. That's my take. All right. Anybody in those agencies back then, they're dead. So let's fix that policy, right? Or the ability to pull something like that off, and be aware of it. So that's my take. I don't think there's a reason to keep all of it classified. But I don't have the answer to that. But I have thought about it, and it was sent to me too as well. So, all right, let's see. Yeah, why is the Skywatcher technology classified? Very interesting videos, very interesting talk, very interesting chatter going on around it. Looks like there's some money involved too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see that stuff and I'm like, man, I would like that vehicle. I would like that setup. And the personnel around it. Yeah, it seems like there's some money there too as well. The only sense it makes is to protect the IP. You know what? I need something to come out of it, but I enjoy the project. If we all evolve from amoebas, Jason Brown, if we all evolve from amoebas, why are there still amoebas? Now, you answered your own question. It's easy. Stuff is evolving all the time. It's that simple. I think the more difficult question is, why have some species not evolved? Right? Why are sharks still sharks after being around for 100 million years? Homo sapien sapien, 200,000 years, and we evolved into this. How did that happen so quickly? But yet, dolphins aren't building optical networks. How come they didn't evolve to walk on land? Why are they still, or did we, right? Did we evolve from that? Well, why are there still why are there still sharks? All right. Things are evolving all the time. And why are there still amoebas? How many times have we had extinction or near extinction events on this planet where everything was wiped out? Amoebas started again. Evolution started. New species started. Look up popcorn evolution and go and read about that. How quickly species and subspecies can appear in thousands and tens of thousands of years, and not over millions of years. And it kind of slaps Darwin around. It doesn't make any sense. And Darwin's proposition on evolution over millions of years, it doesn't give Homo sapien sapien enough time to evolve. But yet things are evolving all the time. And there are new species all the time. So, yeah, absolutely. The process of amoebas is life. That's it. There's fresh amoebas every day that will evolve into something. That's it. So you answered your own question. There will always be amoebas. Let's see. What guitar? Okay, hold on for a second. This is Jay. What is that? I don't know what could I play for an extraterrestrial visitor. I have no idea. Whatever one I touch first. Can you have, this is from Barbara, can you have the Crystal Skull and his people on? There are so many different groups of Crystal Skull people. So are you talking about the Mitchell Hedges? I can do that. We've actually talked about getting a show going. So yeah, the answer is yes. Next question. Okay, we're almost at the end here. When the world ends, if you could hear just one more song, which one would you choose? One of two. Both Led Zeppelin, by the way. The Rain Song or Celebration Day. Yeah, I'd go there. There's Van Halen I would love to hear for sure. There's plenty of Jeff Beck, Stevie Ray Vaughan. The list is endless. But have you seen the new Led Zeppelin documentary, Becoming Led Zeppelin? Man, I thought I'd seen it all when it comes to Zeppelin. What a great documentary. And if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. I bought it. But yeah, the Rain Song. Ooh, man. Yeah, the rain song. Celebration Day 2. Two strong things. So there you go. All right. That's off the top of my head, so I think it's honest. Jimmy, how many different hairstyles have you rocked in your day? Ha! All of them. All of them. Yeah, it's funny. I can't say too much, but on Sunday, I've got a meeting here at the house with some network executives. And I cut my hair for it. Can you tell? See, look, hair's cut. Yeah, it was this long. My hair was it's still pretty long, but it was, I think we cut like 8 inches off of my hair. That's how long it was. It was just like, whoop, it was out to here. So yeah, I just cut my hair. Kissing up to those network executives. Kissing up. Let's see. Rainbow Voices. Is it reasonable to say that the object you saw 6 months ago over your house was a higher technology drone? Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the zone I go into, is over Skunk Works. Dead quiet. When I first saw it, because of its size and where it was, I thought it was a helicopter. That's what I thought. But I didn't hear it. And I see helicopters off in the distance miles away. You can hear them. There's lots of helicopters. Fox Field, which is behind me, that's the firefighting center, one of them here in Southern California. They have all the giant helicopters and jets and stuff out there. Those helicopters, I hear, they're all over. You hear them and see them. This thing was right in front of me and it was silent. And that's when I went, wait, is it? No, there is no noise. And then finally, like I said, it came right up, stopped right above me, and then went back. And I was like, what? And I got a really good look at it, for as good as you can look at something that's strobing like that. But yeah, three lights, triangle, 1, 2, 3, right above me, silent. Yeah. So I think it was some kind of, I don't know, that my mind, I mean, I was only on it, thought about it, the craziness of it, for just a minute, because I see it all the time. I see stuff like that all the time. So not that big of a deal. Very cool. But, I didn't videotape it. I didn't video it. But for a second, what popped in my mind was the lights and the strobing that was happening was what was keeping it in the air. Call it a propulsion system, call it something else, I don't know. But for some reason, just for a second, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. Okay. All right. Very controlled. It never changed altitude, by the way. It never went up and down. But it stayed right over the top of Skunk Works. If you could put like a 1 mile square box above Skunk Works, it stayed right in that area until it stayed right there until it decided to come right out over the house and then went right back in a straight line. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Pretty cool. Let's see. Super Crazy Movie Geek. Do you think we will get real life Jurassic Park in our lifetime or beyond? I think we did it last week with the dire wolf. Don't you? The dire wolf. You see those puppies? I've seen them grow up too, grown up. I think now that Remember Dolly the sheep? Okay, there's always got to be a first. And so now that they've got the system down, I could see this happening more and more with older and older and older extinct species. You have to be able to, tap into some good DNA. Okay. Like Jurassic Park and Amber and all of that. But you have to be able to, good solid DNA. But the technique is proven now. So yeah. I actually, super crazy. That's a good question. It doesn't really freak me out. Now, can I get an amen, a hallelujah, and a long live and prosper? That's from Swamp Gas. There you go. You just got it. T-Rex, pterodactyls, I'm not going there. Brontosaurus, not going there. All right. Let's see here. Do I mix and master any music at your house? Yes, I have everything. Yep. I have everything. I have all the plugins, all the mastering stuff, all the compressors, all the EQs. I've got all that stuff. Some of it emulates really, really well. I like it. I've got some great reverbs too as well. But as far as mastering goes, yeah, I have all of that. I use Adobe Audition. I don't use Apple or Pro Tools. I use PC Base and I use Adobe Audition. I have a couple other things, but I just prefer Adobe Audition. But yeah, absolutely. I've got a great setup here to do just that. Why, do you have some files you want mastered? You want me to throw some stink on? You've got my email. Jimmy, have one of your favorite remote viewers find it. You don't think, and that's from Carl Breivik. That's a great, you don't think I was thinking that this whole time? Of course. Yeah. I'm definitely considering that. All right. We've got like a minute left, and I know I didn't get to everything, and I appreciate it. Jimmy, do you have any beef with anyone in the UFO community, and why should we maybe not listen to them? I would never say it publicly if I did. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. It's not up to me. I don't talk smack. I don't care. I've said this before. Once somebody misleads me or misleads the community, you're a canceled check. I just don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. I don't care. I don't care. If somebody's not on this show, you can kind of figure out why. I just don't have time for it. Life's too short. I don't waste my time. Favorite Black Mirror episode? We talked about this. Yeah, season 3 episode. We talked about this. Callister. Love that. I like the one, I can't remember the name of it, with the robot, with the Sentry AI dogs. That was just absolutely frightening. And the one with the girl that's going to be the maid of honor at the wedding. Any desire to go to Antarctica? Absolutely, yes. I would love to go. Australia, yes. I'm going to get out to Australia here very soon. I will be in Australia within a year. I'm already making plans. When you say South America gets spiritual, what does that mean? Feel like, I say this to everybody, and I said this to Ross before the show tonight. You need to be ready. You need to be ready for the unexpected, because you're walking, you around the corner. When you least expect it is when stuff like that happens. That's it. I've seen people brought to tears, myself included. So you have to be ready for it. Barbara says, when you met Bashar, did you invite him on your show? Yeah, he's been on the show many times. Many times. Not enough. I should have him on more. What tips do you have for a first-time Egypt trip? Only drink bottled water. Don't eat anything that doesn't come out of a package. Don't eat salad from a salad bar. Something that they rinse off under a faucet. No. And it's not that it's bad. It's bad for us. For them over there, their bodies are resistant to that stuff. Did you guys hear that? What the heck? Something fell. I don't see anything on the floor. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Let me go to the end. Did you guys hear that? Let me go to the end. Did you guys hear that? Oh, you guys, no? You guys didn't hear that? No, I'm seeing no's. Okay, wow. I heard it. Put on gunk. Ping, ping, ping. Oh, yeah, so I got a yes. I didn't hear it. Yeah, it was like, not like this. This is my desk. It was on the floor. It was like down. It was like, I don't know. I don't want to drop anything on the floor. It was like, yeah, kind of like that. That was a bottle of water hitting the floor. It's kind of like that. I don't see anything, though. All right. That wraps it. I'm off tomorrow. Taking the electricity out of the house tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to be back, but I won't be able to work in here. I'm going to be outside with the contractors. So that's that. I'll see everybody here on Monday. Have a great, safe, fun, and amazing weekend. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Very special thanks to Ross Coulthart. He was amazing tonight. But for now, until Monday, all I've got is Go Backley Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Backley Tappy.